Hi, my name is Paul Lillig, and I am one of the board members for Kansas City Society for Friendship with China. Every year we put on an event called the Dragon Boat Festival. The Dragon Boat Festival is an outgrowth of an organization that's been around in Kansas City for quite a few years called Sister Cities. Xi'an, China is Kansas City's sister city. You may have heard of Xi'an. It is where the terracotta soldiers were discovered. We have two of them at the north end of the Freedom Bridge, and so that's where our relationship with Xi'an comes from. The founder of the sister city, the Xi'an Sister Cities, Bob Chin, is a great advocate and has been an advocate of the relationship with the Chinese population here in Kansas City. And the Dragon Boat is a huge part of the Asian culture. The day of the event, there are several events that head up to getting the boats in the water. The day of the event, we'll go through all of that. But today we're going to talk about what happens while you're in the boats, getting ready to get in the boat, in the water, how to have a good time at the event. So again, the Dragon Boat Festival from the Asian side is a very, very long 7,000-year tradition. We are just now discovering it here in America. We have a giant population of Asian in Kansas City, several very large employers. So we have a very large contingent of Asian Americans here in Kansas City. The festival, what it means to Kansas City, as I said earlier, we have a sister city relationship with Xi'an. We have several employers that are very large employer groups who have a very large population of citizens from China that have moved here to Kansas City. So we want to make sure that we incorporate and we embrace this culture and these individuals. Okay, let's start about the event. First of all, there is no check at the end of this race. It's about good sportsmanship. We are here just to have fun. Winning is great, and I totally appreciate, having the competition thing going on, but we're here to have fun. So fun is first and foremost. The event requires acting like a team. There seems to be a big breakdown when you have 8 people rowing, one person giving directions and one person steering. The individuals in the boat, each individual thinks that they know best what's good for the boat. The teams that have the most success are the teams that communicate the best and act like a team. Enactus is currently, putting on this program. It is one of the things that Enactus has learned. The more they act like a team, the more success they have had, and it will continue to show in the future. So each team, as I just said, will consist of 1 steersman, oarsman. They're at the back of the boat. 8 rowers, and they can be one in front of the other, or they can be side to side, depending on how you want to manage your boat. And 1 drummer. There are 2 boats per event, per heat. It is called a round-robin tournament. Based on the number of entrants will be determined how many times each team gets to be in a race. The more teams, the more each team gets to race. So encourage your friends and mates to get a team. So typically the race, track, sorry, kind of jumbled there. The racetrack is starting at the gondola dock, proceeding west underneath the Warnell Bridge. We have a buoy in the middle of the creek. The object is to turn at the buoy and return back to the finish line. Pretty easy. First one past the buoy in front of the gondola dock wins. On the dock, this is an incredibly important place for everyone. Please listen to the director at the dock. He's speaking to a multitude of people. There are a lot of distractions. It is very important that everyone pay attention during that time to the instructions that are given. The first thing is, again, as I said, I'll reiterate, communicate with your team. Know who your players are. Know which role each member of the team has. And I've said this many times. Once you determine who your drummer is or your team captain is, no more discussion. Listen to that team captain. They will give directions. It's not a moment to start debating and creating a new set of rules. No, you've picked your team captain. Stick with that captain. Have confidence in them. Support them. There are many other teams on the dock at the same time as your team. So stick with it. Make sure your team is close to you so that when instructions are given, everyone at the same time hears the same instructions. The way we have set this thing up is we have 4 boats. We have 2 boats queued up, and we have 2 boats participating in a race. When the 2 boats are in the race, the object is to get the next 2 boats with their teams queued up on the dock and ready to get into the water. As we proceed through the day, we're wanting to try to get this turnaround as quickly as we can. So again, please pay attention. When there are 2 teams in the water racing, the next 2 teams will be announced. They proceed to the dock, and I will give instructions. The director will give instructions at that time what to do. So, critical, rule number 1, every person who is in the boat must be wearing a life jacket. It's not my rule, it's not the director's rule, it's Parks and Rec's rule, and it's the City of Kansas City rule. So, no life jacket, you don't get to participate. We have more than enough life jackets. They are various sizes. So, feel free to pick up a jacket that fits you. They're adjustable. There are many jackets available, so find one that fits. Be comfortable. The instructions at the dock. Okay, again, please pay attention to this because it has to get said over and over as each team enters the boat. I want one member of the team to sit at the edge of the dock, not the entire team, just one. They will put their feet into the boat and hold the boat steady. One by one, a person will sit at the dock with their feet in the boat and proceed to enter the boat one by one. When everyone is in the boats are typically tied up at the dock. You will untie your boat. This is very critical. We've lost boats right at the dock for having it tied up, pushed away, boat tips over, everybody spilled into the water. We don't want anyone in the water at all. So again, please pay attention to everything that's going on. One person on the dock holding the boat. They will stay on the dock until everyone is in the boat, holding it steady. Then that last person will enter the boat, make sure that everyone the boat is untied, and you will hold at the dock until you're released to queue up behind the buoy. Again, the organizers and the directors will give you directions as each individual team approaches the boat, which boat to get into. Again, the director will determine which boat the team will go into. No discussion about, I want that boat, that other team got this boat and they won. No, we got 4 boats, usually a multiple of teams, and each team will get the boat that is directed by the director to get into. Just get in your boat. Okay, in the water. So now we're in the boat, everybody's in the boat, and we're getting ready to release from the dock. Here's what I want you to try to do. The first 2 teams will line up their boats behind the buoy. Now it's critical at this moment right here to stay behind the buoy until the director releases you. There is a fountainhead just ahead of the buoy, and the director will make sure that you know to stay clear of that. You can't see it from when you're in the boat, but it is definitely there. So please stay clear of that. You're behind the buoy. We'll push you forwards very slowly to line up with the buoy. And again, this is not a NASCAR event. One boat may be ahead of the other. When you're released, time to go. When you get to the finish, to the start line, there's a whistle blow. Object is to, again, act like a team. This is probably the most critical part of the training. If you want to be a great team and finish well up on the dais, on the podium, then act like a team. What does that mean? A, listen to your captain. Listen to your drummer. They will set you a cadence. All paddles out, all paddles in. All paddles out, all paddles in. The team that can act the most synchronized, all the paddles out, all the paddles in, will perform the best. Now, I learned a valuable lesson several years ago. I used to think that the amount of paddle in the water was not as critical as being part of the team. Well, we had a team come in from China, and with 4 guys, absolutely stormed everybody because they were digging a ditch with their paddles. They got their paddle out high and went as deep into the water as they could. So don't be afraid to get your paddle down into the water. Again, try to stay out of the water. You don't want your hands in it. You know, you're going to want to wash your hands. But don't be afraid to dig into the water. Okay? Pay attention to your tempo. Timing is everything. It's like golf. It's like a ballet. All paddles out, all paddles in, all paddles out, all paddles in. It's not about how many strokes per minute you can make. It's about how well each one of those strokes move the boat forward. There is a tournament director who has each one of the teams in the bracket. She will announce the teams that are in the boat currently racing and the next 2 teams. Pay attention to the tournament director. They will be announcing the teams that are currently racing and then the next teams to queue up. The director has the right to tell which team will be on what's sometimes referred to as the inside lane and the outside lane. Inside is closest to the gondola dock. Outside is closest to the concrete, which is opposite the dock. Now, please understand, there is no difference in the length of the race. Every team has the exact same amount of distance to cover. When the race officially starts, boats will race down the creek, around the buoy, and back to the start-finish line. Clearly, the first boat to cross the finish line wins. The drummer will set a beat. Rowers follow the beat. Do not look at the drummer and go, "You're not keeping beat." No, paddlers, you're not keeping the beat with the drummer. The most difficult part of the race is the turnaround. The turnaround at the buoy seems to be a real constriction pinch point. There is no rule that says every boat must pass on the right or only the boat passes on the left. The only rule is the first boat to the buoy has the right of way. The second boat must yield to that first boat. Doesn't matter which lane they are in, if they get to the buoy first, they have the right of way. Historically, most of the boats tend to go to the inside lane, thinking that a left turn is an easier turn. It is not that way. You get to determine, the boat and the oarsman will determine which lane, which way to turn, right or left, around the buoy. The only hard and fast rule is the first boat to the buoy, to the turnaround buoy, has the right of way. The second boat must yield. Now, we have had in the past some discussion about whether or not boat A was at the line before boat B. Remember, this is about having fun. We want everyone to have a good time, not to get turned around, not to end up in the water. So please, act like adults. Be conscious of the other team. If you feel like they have gotten to the boat before you, yield. You can win this race on the second leg by acting like a team. The more like a team you are, you can pick up your paddle strokes per minute and you can win. It happens regularly. There's no guarantee that the other team will run a straight line back to the finish line. Many boats end up hitting the side. So just being first at the buoy is no guarantee of success at the finish line. But please understand, this is about acting like an adult, having good sportsmanship, recognizing that it is not about trying to wreck the other boat, crash them so that you can finish first. Let's just all act like we're going to have a good time, and the first one over wins. You'll have plenty of time, plenty of races. Hopefully you'll have plenty of races to make up for that. Again, we've had boats in the past. Steering these boats is very, very tricky. Do not yell at your oarsmen. It is a very tough job. They're doing everything they can to keep that oar in the water and keep the boat pointing towards the finish line. That does not guarantee that the boat will stay in a straight line. If it does veer, again, please understand that you have the ability to stop your craft, let that guy straighten out. You can still finish ahead of them. Do not try to get into a push and shove match, get close to the other boat to where your paddles are touching or the boats are touching. It's a recipe for disaster and you'll end up in the water, and that is one of the things we just don't want. Trying to get those boats up out of the water after they've been sunk is a real challenge. So, tips for success. This is where we start to talk about what strategy is and how to organize your team in the most effective way. Communication. Please understand that the boat that acts more like a team is going to be the most successful. Well, what does acting like a team mean? It means that everyone follows your leader, your team captain. The person behind is watching the person ahead of them. As their paddle goes up in the air, everyone's paddle should go up, and their paddle goes down, everyone's paddle should go down. The more you act like a team, the more success you will have. Going up and down this creek, clearly water will get into the boat. We don't want to get too much water in the boat. We can always bail them when we get back to the dock. But keeping your paddle close to the water is the most effective. Dig deep. Get that paddle down in the water, but don't splash it around. Don't splash the other boaters. Don't splash your teammates. So, one of the tricks to steering this boat, in addition to the oarsmen, is coordinating from the left side to the right side. If you want to turn left, the rowers on the left will hold their paddles in the water, hold them stationary. The paddlers on the right will row and the boat will turn to the left. The opposite is true. If you want to turn the boat to the right, the paddlers on the right will hold the paddles in the water, and the paddlers on the left will row. The oarsman can facilitate this by keeping his oar deep in the water, and it helps turn the boat. Now again, this is something that you want to practice on your practice day, turns. It is where you can pick up or lose time.